to order the meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for February the 2nd, 2021. On the agenda, I have one removal. If you will remove number 16 from your agenda, and if you will add at 15A to request permission to accept and authorize the mayor to sign the multimodal grant in the amount of $65,902 for OU Transit Department. So if you'll add that at 15A, subtract number 16, and I believe that is, those are all the changes. Is that it, Ashley? Okay.
That's right, yes, ma'am.
Okay. We have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, a quick mayor's report tonight. We are continuing to have discussions with our transportation commissioner, John Caldwell, and leaders in counties that are all along Highway 7. I told you all at the last meeting that we had that hosted the group here to try to get a coalition formed and started. The coalition now has a name. We are calling it 7 for a Safer Highway 7. It's 7 counties. It's Lafayette, Benton, Marshall, Yalobusha, Grenada, LaFleur, and Humphreys counties. So I will keep you posted as we move forward, but John Caldwell, our transportation commissioner, has been putting together a mission statement for this group, and hopefully we're gonna really be able to push this project to the top of some people's lists. We are moving forward with our plans to expand our pedestrian areas in the downtown, especially down Jackson Avenue East. We will have several things that we'll vote on towards the end of the meeting regarding that, but I did want to report that we had a meeting this past week and invited all the business owners on Jackson Avenue East to attend that meeting, and we got some great feedback and great comments from them, and they asked questions that made us think about things that we hadn't thought about yet, which is exactly why we wanted to do it. And we talked to them about a time frame, what would be best, and we just got a lot of feedback, and we were excited to get to sit down with those business owners. I want to announce, this is not on the agenda, it's kind of snuck up on us, but I would like to announce that we will be taking letters of interest for anyone who is interested in a position on the Oxford School Board. We have a member whose term expires in March, and so the board will be making an appointment in March, and would ask anyone who is interested to send their letters of interest to City Hall. We have, I've said it numerous times over the past, and now it's been a year, that, the pandemic has brought out the best and the worst in people, but it continues to bring out the best in our community. And just today I got an email from a group that is going to be distributing N95 masks. They are going to distribute those first to the grocery store employees and to small businesses. And I thought that was great, that just someone that I've not had the pleasure to meet just sent an email saying, hey, I just wanted you to know that a group of citizens has bought these masks and we are gonna start distributing them. Another thing that we have done this week is we are trying to figure out ways to help people who don't have internet access to get vaccinated. Right now, you make your appointment on the computer, and so we're trying to assist people who don't have access to a computer. We have set up in the police department and at Fire Station 1 next to the post office a computer that is there. The police department's open 24 hours a day. It's there in their lobby for anyone who wants to go and utilize that computer to make appointments for vaccinations. Now, the hard part is letting people know that that's available, because how do we let them know? On the internet. And so that kind of defeats the purpose, that we're trying to be in contact with folks who don't necessarily have social media and internet access. So I'd ask all of you to please share that with your churches, share that with any community groups that you're in, pass that along to other teachers, what have you, so that we can really spread that word. And we're going to try to, we would try to do this now if we actually had the information all the time, but as we see that they have opened up new appointments, we'll try to alert people. That's the frustrating part, is and both the fire department and the police department have bus stops nearby, and you can go, but if there aren't any appointments available, it's a wasted trip. So we're trying to work through those details, but just know we're thinking that way.
There's a group of volunteers who is taking the names and other information from people who do not have computers, and they're working from home to get people registered. It doesn't have to be you. I mean, you can register anybody.
Right.
So you're sitting there and you can check your computer several times a day to see if appointments are available to get those people signed up. And I think that's
How do people share their information?
they call and give their information.
I mean, who do they call though? Do we know a number to tell people of who to call to give their information?
Well, you know, it's the wise women who are doing it, so I think they have.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll try to get that information and distribute it. Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. So that is it for my mayor's report. I'll ask you to authorize the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on January 19th and the recess meeting on January 25th.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ask you to authorize the approval of accounts for all city departments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ask you to consider the consent agenda. It's a short one tonight.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, sometimes there are people that decide to retire and we're just not ready to let them go yet. So you can just sit back down because we're keeping you. Everybody, this is Mike Morris, who has been at Environmental Services, I think, in every role that they've got.
Yes, I have.
He is leaving us as the right-of-way chief.
Yes.
He has done everything from the back of the truck to being security on the double-decker buses on football game weekends to
How you know
work.
all that?
Oh, you just don't even know what all I know about you. He has been on double-decker cleanup crew, which may be the worst gig in the whole city.
Yes.
Yes. And just last week, we have had trouble getting people to show up and people that have been sick and whatever all. And so this guy, a week away from retiring, what did he do? He got on the back of that garbage truck and worked
Yes, I
all
did.
day.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, he did.
It was my duty.
We need 400 Mike Morrises. That's all I'm saying. But I'm gonna read a resolution for you in your honor.
Thank you very much.
Whereas Michael Morris has been an employee of Environmental Services since May 1st, 1995, establishing himself as a valuable resource and respected among not only his fellow workers, but the entire Oxford and Lafayette County community. And whereas Michael Morris, with his dedication, knowledge, and abilities, has excelled while working for the city of Oxford, where he worked as a laborer on the refuse and rubbish trucks, tractor operator, and right-of-way crew chief. And whereas Michael Morris's comprehensive knowledge of his job and of the entire Environmental Services Department will be deeply missed. Whereas Michael Morris has always shown a willingness to perform any task or project as needed, and whereas Michael Morris has made a mark on the city of Oxford through a commendably high standard of service to its citizenry, characterized by the exemplary willingness, patience, and courtesy and respect for the citizens that he served. Therefore be it resolved that the City of Oxford Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Oxford express their sincere appreciation and gratitude to Michael Morris for his work on behalf of the Environmental Services Department and the community. We extend to him all the best wishes for a happy and enriching retirement. You've earned it.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I want to say a few words about
We want
this.
you to say a few words.
I'm
What you
gonna say a
got?
few words. Whew, I'm just commending about this. And working for the city was like an adventure, which it really was.
Yeah.
Ups and downs, more ups and downs. And I appreciate it. I stood there and I stayed there. A lot of times I want to quit now.
Well, I hear you. Me too, brother. Me too.
It was hard. It was hard. I wanted to quit every day. I walked the road. Do I need to walk down that road or stay here? I'm gonna stay here. I got a wife and kids. I got to take care of them. So dedication was there.
Well,
Didn't mind doing it.
we appreciate it.
And I love what you said. I'm gonna miss you.
We're gonna miss you. We're gonna miss your hard work, your willingness to serve people, because your job's a calling.
Yes, ma'am.
Not just anybody can do the work that you've done for this long.
Yes, ma'am.
They just can't, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate not only your hard work, but your attitude and your heart, and you are definitely gonna be missed.
Thank you very much. And
Absolutely.
I respect my boss lady. many boss people I've had. I respect all of them. Because they put up with me. I can put up with them. They put up with me. I love
We'd like to put up with you a little longer if you wanna stay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, can I have a motion to adopt that retirement resolution for Mike Morris?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? You can still change your mind and come back anytime, Mike Morris. You hear me talking? All right, request permission to declare equipment surplus in the Environmental Services Department and authorize its disposal.
It is 2 trailers and a computer base, DVR.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Amberlyn. You won't hurt our feelings at all if you leave. Oh, good. All right, next on our agenda is, I think, Seth, are you presenting Arlita's? Request permission to accept a $5,000 amendment to RSVP grant agreement for budget period April 1st, 2020 through March 31st, 2021, and to amend RSVP's budget for FY 2021 to reflect the additional funding.
All right, yes, this is a $5,000 amendment. There's no match or anything for it, and as you can see, what it's used for there is for rebranded items and stuff for RSVP.
Motion made, accept.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Seth, on the award itself, the date is wrong where it says budget period. You might want to change that. It says April 1st, 20 to March 31st, 21, which is next month. Isn't it through 22?
It will be 22, yes.
Okay.
That's what I was, yeah, you're exactly right. I thought you was gonna say the dates of the thing, but their grant runs in a different
Okay.
cycle than our budget.
Okay.
Thank you,
Just saw that,
Janice, for
yeah.
catching that. All right, so we had a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, request permission to accept the AmeriCorps Senior RSVP grant in the amount of $75,000 for budget period April 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2022.
This is just, there's no match here. It's just whatever her existing budget is. This is just the money that's given for that.
All right,
Move we approve it.
all in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you, Seth. Next, we'll discuss our COVID-19 current restrictions and guidelines and the current executive orders. Jimmy, you want to come up and give us a rundown on our numbers, please, sir? Who would have thought in January 2020 that in January 2021 we would still be talking about COVID every meeting?
A year.
Boo!
Yes.
Okay, what you got?
I wasn't thinking about COVID in January.
Well, Jimmy was. We had our first meeting.
Unfortunately, we had our first
We
meeting
had our
a
first
year
meeting
ago.
in late January last year. We had our plan adopted by the second meeting in February of last year. So Jimmy was ahead of the curve as usual, but
We try.
I sure wouldn't have thought that we'd still be talking about it now. Give us an update.
Hopefully not much longer.
That's right. That's what we can hope.
You've got the sheet for the past 14 days. You can see that overall we've had a general decrease over the past several days. The numbers are coming down. Today's numbers for the state was, state reported 825 cases statewide with 76 new deaths. We had a total of only 8 cases reported today. We had 1 new death reported, but that was from a review of death certificates. And so far we've had 105 total deaths in Lafayette County. Now for the good news though, the vaccination site is going very well. We have vaccinated, now this is Lafayette County residents, more people than what I'm about to tell you have came through there and gotten vaccinations, but 5,577 Lafayette County residents have been vaccinated.
One more time, 5,000.
577 as of today. To give you a comparison on how we're doing, Lee County, as of today, 5,568 Lee County residents have been vaccinated. And in DeSoto County, 8,299. So our group is doing extremely well out here. They're doing 400 plus vaccinations a day. And that's not counting that, like I said, they've given more vaccinations than that from the standpoint we've had people from all over North Mississippi coming to our site, from Arkansas, from Tennessee. So our group is very efficient about getting them through and on a timely manner.
That's great.
How many total vaccinations have they given?
I don't have that number yet. I'll try to have it
I
for
was
you.
just curious to what percentage are Lafayette
out of
County
town or
residents
whatever,
and
yeah.
what percentage is out of town?
You could pretty much say, okay, they've been open now, yesterday made 3 weeks, 400 a day, 400 times 5, 10, 15, 400 times 16 should be roughly the amount of total vaccines they've given. So they've been averaging, like I said, 400 or 405, something around that each day. So
actually a pretty good percentage of
pretty
Lafayette
good,
County.
exactly, if that's what it's working out to, a pretty good percentage is our people.
Yep.
Of course, you have to think about it, and that's 6,400, most of them are just first dose, so we still got.
Well, they have started second doses
Yeah.
and everything. As of today in the state, a little bit over 250,000 people statewide have been vaccinated. So,
Keep them going. Keep them going. And every person that I talk to that has been cannot say anything other than it is just runs like a top.
we
So,
have a good group.
thank you to the people that are out there and to you, Jimmy. And hospital numbers as of yesterday, again, we have 181 total staffed beds at Baptist Hospital. As of yesterday, there were 23 COVID patients. We have seen over the past month, we hovered around 45 to 55 for about a month and a half. And so this is really seeing a decline. 23 COVID patients in the hospital yesterday, 48 available beds yesterday at the hospital. We have 24 staffed ICU beds at Baptist. Yesterday, there were only 2 in ICU with COVID, and there were 7 beds available.
Right.
So, still in good shape at the hospital, which is kind of what we are using as our primary measuring stick right now. I don't have any suggestions for changes or anything. Does anybody else have anything they want to bring up or an issue to address?
I would like to ask Jimmy, though, when I went by there, it seemed like obviously all the National Guard people are doing a great job, but most of them aren't even from here, are they?
Right, most of them,
And I was just wondering, do they care if people from the city, like someone wants to drive by and drop off donuts? And
People have been doing that.
people have actually been doing that. If they'll,
I thought they had, I just thought it'd be a nice thing to say out loud.
yes, they can, if they'll
People are
coordinate.
not from here.
Right, if they coordinate, they call me and I'll help you set it up, put you in touch with the right people. So far, we've had people drop off Chick-fil-A, they've dropped off donuts, lunches. I mean, the community has been very good because there's about 40 health department personnel there and about 30 National Guard personnel. They are not from here. They travel in, some of them have a 2.5, 3 hour drive to get here every day to run this site and everything, so.
Man.
Yep.
Well, we are sure thankful they are. All right, thank you, Jimmy. Accept the donation of several little free library boxes from the University of Mississippi, what department is it from?
Center for Manufacturing
Center for
Excellence.
Manufacturing Excellence, sorry, I drew a blank. We are so excited. We have had, we've got the little free libraries around town that we have temporarily transitioned into little free pantries. And we know that people want the books to come back, and our goal was to get little pantries made to go beside the little free libraries. And Mark had someone reach out to him that had 4 at the Center for Manufacturing Excellence that they would like to donate to us. So we are asking tonight if you would please accept that donation, and we will be able to at least have 4 locations where we have both, and we've actually gotten some calls from other people volunteering to make those little free libraries or pantries, so we will keep it going. So-
Actually, the number is actually 5.
Oh, there are 5 of them?
There's 5.
Oh, awesome, okay, great.
I'll make that motion.
All right. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fabulous. Come on up, Hayden. Hayden's here to request permission to declare equipment surplus in the Oxford Conference Center and authorize its disposal.
We just have 4 cell phones we need to surplus.
Should have just called in.
Can we get the information on?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Request permission to apply for a GBAC grant for the Oxford Conference Center. Hayden?
This is the Global Biorisk Advisory Council does an accreditation for facilities in the travel industry and similar industries. A lot of airports are doing it, stadiums, that kind of thing. And they've partnered with Georgia Pacific, and we just want to see if we can offset some of the cost for this. The total cost would be $1,000. The grant will fund up to 50%, and then we'll use the relief money to cover, through Visit Oxford, to cover the cost. So it won't be anything out of pocket for us.
All right.
I move we allow her to apply for the grant.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Hayden. Donna? Request permission to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the certifications and assurances for the Oxford University Transit FY 2021-2022 grant.
Yes, ma'am. We also have sent it to Mr. Paul Watkins for his approval, and he has also signed as well. And so we just need your signature to get it put in the grant. So we can
All right. Can we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? And then at 15A, the addition to the agenda, request permission to accept and authorize the mayor to sign the multimodal grant in the amount of $65,902 for OU Transit Department.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. We're
also-
always ready to take money.
Yes, ma'am. I also wanted to say that Oxford Transit also will have someone available to help anybody that needs to sign up to get their appointment as well. So we're open from 6 to 10, and we also, they can call our office if they need a ride. Any city resident can call and get a ride.
What number would they call, Donna?
234-3540, and they can go pick them up in a van and get them there. So
Perfect. Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, number 16 is removed from our agenda. Number 17, request permission to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a letter of engagement with Butler Snow LLP for the City of Oxford, Mississippi, continuing disclosure for fiscal year 2020. Ashley?
Yes, this is something we do every year. It updates our financial information that's disseminated out to different bonding agencies, and it is a requirement to for our bonding capacity and things like that.
All right.
Move we approve. Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ashley. Seth, consider a request from WeCycle to rent out the Oxford Park Commission Activity Center.
All right, as y'all know, we normally would not come to y'all for authorization to rent something, rent any of our facilities, but we haven't got to that point through COVID stuff yet. So WeCycle come to us. This was they had come to us last year. They used, they were able to use it the fall, not last year, 2019. They used it, rented our facility, and then we had to cancel on them both times last year. They've asked to come back, and obviously y'all know we haven't rented anything yet. This would be the first thing that we're asking y'all to do. She has included a letter to y'all that y'all had gotten, but she has let me know a few more things that she wants to be able to do. Everyone have to wear a mask inside, in the line and outside. Limited capacity will be enforced with someone, with her husband actually at the door, keeping people out with a clicker. Appointment times that'll be available to spread people out, so they'll be able to go to her website. It's not actually set up yet, but it'll be oxfordwecycle.com. Once they get that set up, and people will come, they'll register for a time, and then people who do walk up during that time, if someone does not show up for their appointment 5 minutes late, they'll get someone from that line to come through. So not allowing children in the building to be able to keep the numbers down as well. So.
What's the date, Seth?
That'll be March the 27th, be a Saturday. It's using the old activity center only. Now, we do have basketball season going on, but we will not have games that night or that weekend, that for third Friday or Saturday in that old activity center as it's going on.
What are your thoughts? Not everybody at once.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of it. I
don't have a letter.
Yeah,
I don't.
it's not attached to our agenda. I saw it in an email, but
All
it's
right,
not
well, I
attached to our agenda.
apologize.
I thought maybe I just wasn't seeing it on my.
That's fine.
How much are we charging? What do they want to use?
Their rent is, for the recycle show, it's around $2,400 for the 3 days that they'll use it.
So they're talking about setting up give an overview of it.
Yeah, it's a consignment sale. It's a consignment sale that used to be held at, was it North Oxford Baptist consignment sale. They'll have individuals will come in and bring their clothes or bring their toys or whatever on Friday. They'll have a shopping day all day Saturday, and Sunday the people will come back and get their clothes, their check, or whatever is deemed. We do have the separate room that we let them set up in and bring some stuff in.
So isn't that back room back there?
No, it's the
That's
gym
the whole
floor.
gym. It's a big.
So, I mean, other places use the conference center for stuff like that. Is this because we're just cheaper or something? They don't want to pay that much or what?
They've done it before, and the rental is done through the park commission. It's not, y'all would normally not be asked, so it's not really the rental y'all focus on, it's whether you're gonna open the facility during COVID. That's the question.
Yeah, that's, I mean, typically,
I apologize. I was about to say, I think it's good that people get back and use it.
Right, no, it's the COVID.
Okay.
yeah, it's just, but they have a plan in place. It's just, you know.
Will your staff be around just to make sure that everything goes well?
I mean, I can make that happen. Normally we're open on weekends anyway, so we would have staff there. This just happens to be during COVID, we wouldn't be open. But if that's what's holding you back, we can make sure that happens.
I mean, as long as they're hearing to,
Yes, they do have hand sanitizer. I'm sure it is, but I can tell them that has to be part of it. But me and her did talk about hand sanitizer at the door.
Yeah, if you have somebody there, have them go into the restrooms periodically and wipe down the faucets and stuff, because people will be using those restrooms.
We will do that. We do require her to have her own security company there as well,
Oh, okay.
too.
All
So
right, yeah, but they won't.
Security.
I move we open allowed.
Second.
All right, any other questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Seth. Request permission to declare equipment surplus in the Building and Grounds Department and authorize its disposal. Greg?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Got a pretty good list here. It's some assorted items. A lot of them we don't use anymore, and a lot of the equipment is worn out or broken items that we're going to replace. So
They're gonna be disposed of, you can't sell them.
we're going to put, I think all of it could be placed on Gov Deals.
Oh, okay.
What's a billy goat vacuum?
Yeah, my question.
That's
Just curious.
That's one of the push-around vacuums that we do the curbs with.
Okay.
Picks up cigarette butts.
Okay,
We have 3 of them. One of them's worn out.
okay. Just curious. That's a new one for me.
I move that we authorize disposal of these items.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Third reading and vote on a proposed ordinance for case 2704 to amend Articles 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the Oxford Land Development Code. Ben?
Thank you and good evening. Yes, this is a third reading and hopefully a vote to make some slight modifications to the Land Development Code. Of those changes would be to modify the standards for the institutional medical district. to modify the distance requirement between residential detached units and a residential common interest development, establishing a new use for event space or a banquet and reception hall, modifying the parking requirements to allow the director to grant a reduction in non-residential mixed-use buildings, and to modify the landscaping requirements. We have not received any comment, through this process, so staff recommends approval.
Questions or comments from anyone? As this is our third reading, we had a public hearing at the last meeting and didn't receive any comments.
Move we approve.
Second.
All right, any comments? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. First reading of a proposed ordinance amending Chapter 34, Article 3, Noise of the City of Oxford Code of Ordinances. We just had a sound demo.
Yeah.
So we just got a first-hand look at what these noise levels are. So thank you to Ben and Rusty for all of your hard work. I know this has been a very tough one to craft, so thank you.
It's a labor of love, and thanks to Dave Woolworth, who was there to set that up, and then also Lee Harris for helping to facilitate that. And I think it's I think that was really important, so that we could all hear the different levels, both the 85 decibels and the 70 decibels that we have. I think it's important to remember that our goals when we were going through this process was to try and capture in policy exactly what the businesses were doing within the existing commercial districts, because it seems that most people are okay with those tolerations or those limits that we have. Through the assistance of Dave, we were able to help quantify those numbers using some monitors at various times throughout the year, and then we were able to incorporate that. And then additionally, we were looking to provide some protections in the residential areas as well from different limitations of sound levels, but then also the duration and the times and things like that. And so I think we've tried to capture that inside this ordinance, and as you go through this, we have a variety of definitions, and we're still working with Dave right now to make sure that we have this language correct, but so you may see some tweaks between now and the next reading public hearing. We do have a list of exclusions, which for the most part was consistent with what you saw at the work session. We did make a few tweaks where we just separated. I know there was an issue with golf courses, and so we separated that out, and so that's incorporated as an exclusion. But then we also maintained lawn mowing, leaf blowing, and things like that, and we set a time limit for those as well. We do have some general restrictions set in here, looking at things like, construction noises. So we've encapsulated that in the general restrictions provisions. We've also, with our restaurants, even in construction areas, we have vehicles, deliveries, things that are unloading times, and so sometimes there's refrigeration. As a matter of fact, when we were standing out in front of the demo, we actually had one of those trucks standing there. So we did try to incorporate the ability to do that, but also provide some limitations. I think it's also, and we have revised this to incorporate, as we're learning with the vaccination, the COVID vaccinations, to also think through that and incorporate the ability to have refrigerated trucks for maintaining those when we have, maintaining vaccinations or medical supplies when we have those outdoor vaccination sites. So we've incorporated that. We do have a provision in here for sound equipment and vehicles. And that's in addition to, that's, I think, loud noises such as, I think squealing tires or sound equipment within the vehicle. We tried to encompass all of those things that we could really think of. Rusty was really helpful on making sure that that's enforceable, because I think that language really needs to be very specific. So we've incorporated that. Also, we had previously at the work session, we had language in here related to dogs. We fleshed that a little bit more to also include other pets. So we were focusing on dogs, but there may be instances where there could be other pets, creating some sounds. Getting into the real meat and potatoes here is 3466, which is the decibel level restrictions in primarily business and commercial areas. And so what you'll see in one is, as I mentioned before, we are going to measure sound in dBA and dBc, which is, the dBc is that thumping bass versus dBA, which would be the higher pitch sounds. And that would be between the hours of 10 a.m. and 1 a.m. As measured from the public street curb or at a minimum of 5 feet. And then after that time, it's supposed to be plainly audible between 1 a.m. and 10 a.m. Now, this is a slight change. So we actually had an extended hours permit. And I think we said that we were going to try and do away with that, but we think it's important to consider this as it pertains to like outdoor patios, unenclosed rooftops, these things that are actually outside. So we've worked back in that permit, that extended hours permit, and then also lowered the restrictions. So if you have an outdoor patio, you could continue to operate it until 1 p.m., but your outdoor area decibel level would go from 85 down to 70. So thinking that there may be contexts where you're adjacent to existing residential.
You go from 85 to 70
outside.
At 1 o'clock?
At actually.
At
So
10.
Sunday through Thursday, it's 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, it would be 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then Friday and Saturday, it's 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. So at 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, then it would go down to 70 for the outdoor areas. Inside the bars.
So when I asked the question about the outdoor areas last week, I was explained to by that it's the same measure. It's 5 feet from the distance, and it doesn't make it any louder. So if that's the case, I don't understand why we're doing that for the outdoor areas instead of, why are we singling them out, I guess is what I'm asking.
I think because in those instances, I think that there's nothing to contain that sound.
Well, that's exactly what I was asking last week. I said, what's the difference? Because there's only 2 windows to be coming out, and I was explaining that it's a decibel, and that's what you are at 5 feet from the property.
And we'll still measure from the same process, but then on the outdoor area, I think there's a potential that you could, if you didn't, John, I think you could have somebody that's out there with a live band, and they could continue to play until 1 o'clock in the morning, which I think is, I think that, and we heard it today, I think that can be quite loud, and especially when there's a potential that you're adjacent to an existing residential neighborhood. I think it's important that we look to try and provide those protections.
I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I'm just trying to understand what this is different from what the same questions I asked last week. And just because you're talking about an outdoor thing and maybe near an adjacent neighborhood, any commercial area could be near an adjacent neighborhood. I mean, we've got, you know what I mean? There could be.
Just anywhere where you're putting any bar restaurants next door to a.
I'll tell you some of the things that we've talked about when we've had just internal discussions that I still am not real settled on. I'm not pulling for either side here. I'm just saying these are the things that we've talked about. If you specify outdoor space, we're not just talking about bands. We're talking about the complaints that you get from Woodlawn subdivision because they can hear Discount Building Supply in the morning, making their loud announcements, whatever. We've gotten those calls numerous times of, or Cannon Motors, they can hear Cannon Motors saying so-and-so come to the shop or what have you. We have restaurants that are in the Galleria that have outdoor places, Mugshots, Nukes, Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm just thinking of a few that I know have the outdoor patios that typically either have a TV or a, piped in music or whatever. No, nothing would. I'm just saying we can't just focus it on a band. You have to think about it's going to be amplified noise from a lot of different things. So then we talked about we have several new developments that are large outdoor bars. okay, which is, to me, has the ability to be much louder, so we gotta set that decibel level for outdoor spaces. So those are the moving parts. So how do we identify that? And I think, I understand what John's saying is the number's the number, whether it's an indoor or an outdoor.
I'm not even sure. I thought actually what he said was correct last week, but I was told that it's all sound and it's exactly how it works, and that's what you're getting 5 feet away.
Yeah,
No matter whether it's
I don't understand if you measure it from 10 feet out the front door and it's 80 decibels because it's so loud on the inside of the place, it's 80 decibels, and we allow that, but we don't allow 10 feet from an outdoor to only be 70. I don't understand. The noise is the noise. If we're measuring,
you were saying last week,
and I still believe it, I don't understand that we could have an indoor that's louder than an outdoor. That's what we're saying.
Correct.
And I don't understand.
Because it's not really an indoor, it's the noise at the 10 feet out.
Outdoors, correct. So I don't understand why an indoor that's putting more outside decibel noise out than an outdoor has that. If y'all think 70 is too high.
Well, 80 is a time. I think it's a time restriction though as well. And I think it's important to note that, you know, when we were going through the alcohol ordinance, I think we were looking at the potential to limit alcohol license in the downtown district. And so ultimately there was a provision that was added to restaurants that serve alcohol that actually limit outdoor service areas that serve, you know, when they serve alcohol, to limit them to 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. So that's where that time came. So right now, if you're in an outdoor area, you're supposed to stop. You're supposed to stop serving. And so I don't necessarily know that that's what, maybe that's what we want, but that's something that we certainly need to consider.
It's certainly something we don't enforce, so I don't think it's something that bothers us. I mean, and to me, that's how this whole ordinance started, is we've got an ordinance that says you can have no amplified music, period, outdoors. And we're clearly fine with amplified music outdoors. Every person that asks us, can they do it, we say yes. So if we are, then we should have an ordinance that doesn't say you can't have it. It should say what we're okay with, so that we're not having that conversation all the time. And so what are we okay with? We started with asking Dave Woolworth to, in the downtown area, go take measurements, because we're not getting complaints about that. We want to be able to set that noise level at what it actually is, because that's, you know, not been an issue. And so he's taken all these measurements at different times to arrive at that 85 that he says is the number, 85 on the top number, 95 on the bottom number. I can't remember what the letters are. And then he proposed today that it would be 70 in residential areas. Mm-hmm. So I think the rub to me comes in not so much of whether they're indoor or outdoor or what have you, it's where they abut residential. Yeah. To me, is I feel real different about Buffalo Wild Wings patio than I do about one that's where I'm trying to think of another porch that's right next to houses. I guess Volta has houses right behind, you know, I'm just thinking of different outdoor venues and how they affect their surroundings, and I don't know how to, that becomes a harder thing to dictate, because that Volta's not in a residential area. It's in a commercial district. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway.
But it's adjacent to residential, and so
it is. You know, and we got complaints about restaurants on Old Taylor Road that had outdoor porches that just had TVs or things. You know, because there's residential around it. So that becomes the tricky.
Be careful saying because it's adjacent to residential. I mean, you can't say people that live here on the square there, you know, that they have a real complaint because they're, you know, these places are adjacent to residential.
Yeah, adjacent to single family zone, you know, properties.
But still, that becomes, you know, yeah. So now that we're back in, we've talked in a circle. Where are
I mean, I was just thinking the difference between indoor and outdoor, just how the sound waves propagate. Indoors, when we heard the sound test today, I mean, it was loud inside. When it was 85 outside,
right?
It was loud inside, but that was bouncing off the walls of the building. If you have that 85 at the property line or 5 feet away, a good part of that sound is gonna be propagating up and out and not just directly at street level.
Yeah.
And so that's, I'm not a sound expert, but instead of the sound just propagating out, it's gonna go in all directions outdoors. And that's my concern, is what is that right number and how does that act? You know, how far does it propagate outside?
We really need to set, sorry, I didn't make it, but I know how loud it is in this place. Maybe we need to do it outside.
Outside? Okay. And I think we can do that.
I'm not saying move it. I mean, we can always still have the first reading, because we change.
We need to do what outside?
The sound.
Do that demonstration just like that outside.
At a location that's outside, okay.
Sure.
But it would need to be maybe the pavilion or someplace like that, or even though that has a roof, but, or Amos Park, you do it, but you still gotta walk 5 feet away, or whatever it is, from what we would assume is the property line to see how loud it is. That's why I was gonna say the pavilion, the pavilion is really all property, stuff like that.
Get it set up at the site, gym site or something.
I think we get it set up next week.
That's what, heck, the old gym site would be the best one, but that's probably the first complaint we'll have.
Where would we set up? Where are you saying?
The old gen site down by like Newt's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think we could.
I mean, to me, that would be, the test today, I learned a lot by it, but sound is an odd.
That's right.
odd
Well,
thing
like the
to-
bar owner said, when we were standing outside and we were saying that we were fine with 85 or whatever, he said, I would never turn it up. That, I mean, if you're inside and you're hearing it at 85 outside is misery. I mean, you know, he said, so we would never turn the music up that loud indoors for any reason. I mean, nobody can stand to be in there. But when you have that many people talking, in addition, I mean, there was a group sitting in the front windows and just watching the monitor when they're all talking and laughing, you know, I mean.
They were at 85 with no music.
And
They
the music,
were.
Yeah, the music was lower.
They were.
Right.
There weren't 15 people involved.
That's what I'm saying, I mean.
Makes a good point though, is, I mean, it's been years, but you know, if you walk down a place in New Orleans or something like that, you don't hear that much music, then also you go by a window or a door and it like blows you away because
Yeah.
it's so loud in there.
Yeah, good point. Well, let's try to set up an outdoor field trip.
You
We
bet.
can still use this as a first reading, can't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any other things that y'all want Ben and Rusty to comment on? Okay, then we will look forward to a second reading and we thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Sheridan, are you doing this one? Request permission to declare weapons surplus in the Lafayette County Metro Narcotics Unit and trade them in for credit towards new weapons.
Metro Narcotics is in possession of 3 Colt AR-15s and 1 weaponry that will serve no purpose for the department. We'd like to trade those in to purchase other weapons.
All right.
So just a quick question, who do we trade these into?
Hadn't been determined yet.
Well, the only reason I say that is, I mean, these kind of guns are so sought after. I don't know why we wouldn't put them on gun deals or somewhere else.
I think you
We
can.
might get a lot of
I
money.
don't think they take.
Yeah,
They will be traded in with a authorized weapon dealer.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Thanks for being here tonight. Consider a request to temporarily shift traffic and close the sidewalk on a portion of Van Buren for construction at St. Peter's Episcopal Church. Rihanna?
Thank you. ICM, on behalf of the church and David Carroll Construction, has made this request, and what they have to do is connect their detention system to the storm drain in Van Buren. Because of the depth of the storm drain, they want to be able to move traffic away to keep it safer for the workers and for the public. They've requested a 10-day period to be able to work within, but the work will take about 3 days, and we're proposing that they pay for the metered spaces that they'll have to shift traffic into and for the spaces that they'll use as part of the construction. I've spoken with the chief, and there is a Mardi Gras parade permit for the 16th, which falls in that window, and so we would recommend they not be allowed to have that traffic shift. I believe the parade is for the church, so.
I was gonna say, it's the church that's put in the parade permit,
Yeah, so, that should not be a conflict. And so I would just say that if the board would be in favor of this request, that the contractor pays for the spaces, and that they have to provide flagmen for the pedestrians and the vehicles and coordinate with us. And there is representatives from ICM here if there are any other questions.
Are there any questions from the board?
I move that we approve it.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Consider a contract with local government services for professional services related to right-of-way use by utilities.
Yes, I would ask that we be allowed to enter into a contract with Greg Fender of Local Government Services. He helps us with our right-of-way use ordinances as it relates to cell phones, lines, cables, and Rob and I are both gonna, this will come out of both of our budgets, we'll share because we're both gonna benefit from this use.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider a contract with Daniels Engineering for general professional services. Rihanna?
Yes, this is to basically memorialize the work that David Daniels does for us and kind of just go ahead and get it into an actual contract. We're learning now that over the years, we've not been concerned with the contracts as much as their insurance providers are now. And so we just want to go ahead and document all the things that David's doing for us and get this general services contract.
Great.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider a contract with Daniels Engineering for professional services for the Goose Creek Sewer Force Main remediation project.
Yes, you granted permission to advertise at the last meeting. I told you then that we had previously hired David for the design work, but I was mistaken. We had hired him to do the investigation, and so we need this to formally document for him to do that design.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider a contract with HDR Engineering for professional services.
Yes. HDR Engineering they've done work for us for about 10 years now through a couple of names. They've done our groundwater study, they have done our water modeling, traffic engineering. They just completed the Azalea Signal project, and we use them for random projects, kind of the oddball one-offs that our local engineers don't provide services for. Some of the things that I have in mind are some specialty lighting projects that I'm interested in pursuing. I've got a drainage issue in Rollingwood that we're trying to figure out, and I'd like them to be involved in. And then also to provide a third-party review. We are seeing more complex engineering designs. The roundabout at Molly Bar is a great example that it looks wonderful on paper, and I like the design, but I would like a third-party engineer that really dives deep into it to look at that as well. So that's what these services would be for.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Consider an amendment to the contract with Eliot and Britt Engineers for the East Jackson Sidewalk project, contingent on additional board action.
Yes. So in the event that the board votes later tonight to pursue the additional scope of work for the East Jackson project, I would like to amend the current design contract we have with Eliot and Britt to include that additional scope of work. And if the board does not pursue that additional scope, then the contract would remain as it is.
I move that we approve it contingent on the board approving the project.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider a general services agreement with Sloan Landscape Architecture. Mark?
This is similar to what Rihanna is doing, but the contract before you is a general service agreement between the city and Sloan Landscape Architecture. Given the timeline to produce the construction documents, if you decide to move forward with the East Jackson, we thought like it might be good to have an extra landscape architect with the ability to assist with the construction documents and the specifications. This proposed agreement is not a guarantee that we have to use Sloan Landscape Architecture exclusively. If we cannot, and we can do the work in-house if we're able to. The benefit is just that we can have it if we need to. It gives us flexibility on a time-sensitive project like this one.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Bart, request permission to advertise for East Jackson streetscape improvements.
At the work session a week ago, we went through this project in pretty good detail. Then we met with we called a meeting with business owners last Friday, or this past Friday, We had about 4, I think, in attendance, 3 or 4 in attendance. Everybody that was in attendance was in favor of the project. The big question we asked them at the end of the meeting was, and the question that you had asked us is, what time schedule would you like us to follow, if possible? We know that they're under current capacity restrictions. We know that they've had some extreme stresses over the past year, and we just weren't sure if now was the time to move forward with it if y'all chose to. They unanimously said that, look, we're hurting about as bad as we can. The PPE money is still in place until July the 26th or 7th, I believe they said, that if we were gonna do the project, they wanted us to do it now. They wanted to rip the Band-Aid off and move forward with it. In the memo, we went ahead and laid out possible funding mechanisms, the main one being that not knowing what was gonna happen with our parking revenues, that we budgeted the payment on our bond on the parking garage in 2 locations. We budgeted out of parking. We also budgeted half of it out of our Baptist money and half of it out of our 2% money. There was funds in the parking line to set aside for the bond payment, so that has been taken care of out of this current fiscal year's parking budget. So you do have those monies out of Baptist and 2% that you could allocate towards this project if you wanted to. We also already had $250,000 budgeted for the very west end of this project. When Rihanna was talking about amending Eliot Britt's contract, the contract that Eliot Britt was already under to design. So it's just up to you, and I'll try to.
We might figure out funding until, we're talking about right now.
We don't, but I wanted to know where it was coming from before we didn't make any sense to spend the money on designing a project we didn't know how we were gonna fund, so.
And I definitely didn't want to ask you for permission to advertise without.
5 or 6 last week, owners, not.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actual building owners.
Well, I believe it
Yes.
was 4 business owners, 4 business owners.
I thought the agreement was gonna be with the.
We don't know who it's gonna be with yet, John. I mean, that's
They
the,
were all invited, and nobody showed up.
Yeah.
We had 2 restaurants show up and a bank show up, and then later that day, we had another restaurant owner come by and talk to us, but it was only the business owners that showed up.
yeah.
Did we invite the actual building owners?
Can't be very affirmative. but
I don't know that we did, but no, our questions to them were more timing related. We didn't talk about leases or what it would cost or how long, we don't know the answers to those kinds of things. So our questions to them were more along the lines of timing. When would we be hurting your business the least if we went forward with this, knowing that our goal is not just for outdoor dining, it's to create a better pedestrian experience downtown. And,
But we do know
and
multiple of
so,
the property owners know the project, they're just not, really done, they're more, the business owners are the ones more concerned.
Didn't you make a comment last week about our last M-Trade bond payment is this year too? And that's how the 2% money?
That's correct. We do make our final, payment on the M-Trade bonds this year in July.
And how much is that?
$410,000.
To me, that'd be a.
It's combined, yeah.
It's the same.
That's the same.
To me, that would be a good, versus not knowing what our parking situation is gonna be, is look at.
Well,
well, that would be for next year, though. I mean, this money that we are looking at is already set aside in this year's budget for, if we're talking about doing this project in 2 months. It's not for next budget year, it's for this one.
Yeah, and so the question for you.
Well, we've already
tonight
allocated that other money, but for this year.
Just the way we left it at the work session, are you ready for us to move forward with it? Do you want us to move with this accelerated schedule where we try to start construction mid-May and be finished by August 6th, 17th, 16th, whatever that date was in August?
So if we're advertising for the streetscape improvements, how long will it be before we actually get some designs? It just seems like
February the 5th is what we're looking at right now, so that we'll be ready to bid it. That's why we're pushing it is.
March.
When did you say that?
February,
March 5th.
I'm sorry, March, yes, March 5th, yeah. What am sorry, I was thinking a month from now, and it's February the 1st. Yes, March the 5th.
That would be the opening of the.
No, that would just be the design. Be the design.
And then we would bid, so we would ask at that meeting to be able to bid those designs if we're there.
So what do you need tonight?
Until we get the bids, that's what.
I'm sorry, Mark?
What do you need from us tonight?
Permission.
Permission to advertise?
Yeah, the direction on whether to move forward, which is gonna be our permission to advertise. As soon as we get the bid, get the design, we won't come back to you for any official action. We'll circulate it if you need it.
And just wanted you, money set aside in the budget that can be amended to this line. It's already allocated and will not be used where it's allocated, so it will just be moved.
Once we get the bids back, we'll bring that back.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I'll second Jason's motion.
All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. I'll ask the board to consider an executive session.
Consider executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? The board's now considering an executive session.
What do we have?
We have.